Welcome to TradeTheMBA.com. This is John. This report is for the 22nd. Rather benign day the other day here for start of the week. We got it back above that 29.90 and just continued to carry away. It was early on from the beginning, and it just escalated. We had seen short-term buyers had returned to the setup, and we weren't getting a continuation of orange spiking, even though we don't have much happening from a midterm buyer level. It's pretty stasis here as far as long-term buyers, and that's been enough to keep things where they are. So pretty clean. We're right back at the peaks here with the NQ almost touching the 100%, certainly capturing that upper level from before, just shy of the overall highs. In general, the euro, huge bounce here because, again, there won't be a Brit exit in the sense of anything other than what's been agreed to by the EU, and that's been enough to propel it back, all the way back to the levels from August when they thought a last deal was going to come through, and this is exactly what they were hoping for. So pretty much virtually no matter what, Britain will be staying in some form of cooperation with the EU. And that is what they were counting on, and they made it happen. And, well, still holding on to this depressed level, but enough to suggest that things are still okay, economically speaking. And gold fading means worldwide tensions easing. With these dips below the red line, we still have some more lows to revisit further down. So nothing too unusual there. I mean, this shows how boring the day was. Wasn't even that much. We started up early. We had this little signal here, which was a short, but we had it with the reset of the steel and literally turned around in a couple bars. And this is one that we talked about here when you don't get that dip below the red line or anything that requires any kind of a significant retest of a previous low. We did have positive extreme that took place right about here, which was covered once that DOC spread started. And then, of course, the steel turnaround, and we were off to the races at that particular point. We had a couple of soft break situations, but again, see, this was that reset, and then boom, as soon as that happened. And then we get rising red DOC within it, and it just gently cascaded up. There really wasn't a whole lot to talk about. We're filling back this last breakout at the post-market time, which is right around that same 2008 level. You can see that's where we've taken down, and that's just filling in the last of those details, so creating a complete new reset right there. I did want to point out one item. There was this article that was, I thought, very interesting. They were talking about E-mini trades, and this was Vanity Fair, the Hive, and they were suggesting that some of the trades going through with the E-mini, people shorting 120,000 contracts and that, but this gets into exactly what we're looking at here. This isn't anything new, and I don't think it's anything related to Trump because it's been going on for decades. And I've always pointed out, they always talk about the openness of the E-mini and that, and how, you know, easy it is for just the general public because it's so open with so many things. But when you can have individuals that are able to short or even buy 120,000 contracts at any given time, this is what I've always said about the market. There are a smaller number of real players that have enough significant power to make things happen. And this was the whole point of my creating the algorithms, that because we really wanted to be following where they're going with that. And when we're able to see situations where we have like this cyan below the red, and we know that this is going to propel movement higher, it makes a difference because that's getting ahead of the game. This has been the crux of what I've said for decades plus, and so this really doesn't have anything to do with the last couple of years. We saw this with the market manipulation that the Fed introduced during the financial crisis period, and then the post period after that. And so it's not the broad influence of everyone, but there are some select players that can certainly have an impact. And following in those footprints really is going to give you a better indication as to what's going on with market moves. Does that mean there is no corruption? There most definitely is, because obviously if you're big enough to be able to make those moves, you can certainly influence things and make an impact. Whether or not, I've always said this prior to moves of FOMC meetings, everything like that, you can see pre-moves take place because somebody knows something, and that's been going on a lot longer than recently. That someone's talking about it, interesting. I just thought it was worth noting. I know they're trying to tie it into everything attack Trump constantly situation, but it's something we've been following for quite a long time, and I just think that it's interesting that they actually put it out there so you can see it, because when you think about what it takes to make a commitment for that many contracts at any one given moment, of course they didn't just buy them all at one time. It actually is spread out, and this is where we can see it, where we'll get a DOC spread where you get just a tiny dip going through, and you can see all that downside supply being bought up and converted into a turnaround buy signal early on, and that usually leads to a break. This was the whole reason for the extreme histogram, because we know when they've activated it, because they're going to come back and revisit it after they've taken their mini game, or in some cases a larger one, and it's been extraordinarily effective for us, and so that's what we're just going to keep doing. Because following the money is always the smartest move. I think that's what you're going to see out of the Ukraine stuff and that. Follow the money, and that's where the corruption is, and that's how the system works. You can make whatever judgments about fairness or whatever, but this is not about fair. It's about reaping rewards and being ahead of the game. So this is the structure of it. You either play it or just get left behind. So there's no other in between. As always, though, I will keep putting up charts and updating things as we go. We're slightly off here, nothing significant. See if we dip below the red line, I could create a whole new series. But again, we have 94 in the bottom, and I think we're just going to be continuing to plug away in between those ranges. As always, trade well. We'll talk again later.